Okay, so continuing in the Tefillah share, last time we did Moida Ani, and the question is what comes next. If you look in many Siddurim, there's a pasuk from Tehillim, Kuf Yud Aleph, Reishis Chachma, Yiras Hashem, Seichel Toiv L'chol Eisayim, Tehilasa Yamedis La'ad. Why in the world is this pasuk in the Siddur right after Moida Ani? If you look in the old Svarim, the Reishis Chachma does not appear there in the old Siddurim. And the question is why we started saying Reishis Chachma. Every kid learns in the morning after Moida Ani, you wash Nagelwasser, and then you say the pasuk of Reishis Chachma. So I wrote a letter a number of years ago to Reb Chaim Kanievsky Shlita. Ma ha-makar la'amiras ha-Reishis Chachma. What's the makar of saying Reishis Chachma in the morning? V'lama oimer machareze baruch shem kavod machusay la'olam va'ed. Where does that all come from? And he wrote me back a short letter, Kedarkoi, Ze minhagim ba'alma. It's a minig for Klal Yisrael to do it, but he didn't cite any specific source. L'maisa, I had a big problem with it, halacha l'maisa, and that is because it's a pasuk in Tehillim, and even after you wash Nagelwasser, you're still not allowed to say psukim until you say Birchas HaTorah. And I spoke it over with Rabbi Yitzchak Berkowitz, a big pasuk in Eretz Yisrael, and he said, of course, you can't say Reishis Chachma before Birchas HaTorah. Person has to say Birchas HaTorah in the morning, and then say Reishis Chachma. But that's not the way it appears in most Siddurim, and that's not the way most people are noyig, as far as I know. So it seems that this is totally on the shaila that comes up in the Paiskim in the Shulchan Aruch and Ramah in Siman Mem Vav. In Orach Chaim Siman Mem Vav Sif Tes, the Mechaber says, Lo yikra psukim koydem birchas haTorah. Person should not read any psukim before he says birchas haTorah. Afal pisha hu oimram derech tachanunim. Even though he's not saying it to learn, he's saying it as a way of tefillah. He still should not say it before birchas haTorah. V'yesh oimrim she'in lachush. Some say it's not a problem since you're only saying it derech tachanunim. V'nochain lachush l'svara rishayna. It's better to be machmir. Says the Ramah, Avol haminig is svara achroina. The minig is to be mekel, as we see by slichas. You say psukim of slichas early in the morning before you say Birchas HaTorah, so we see the minig is to be mekel. However, the Ramah does say after that you say psukim when you come into shul, matoivu, and other psukim that you say when you come into shul, so l'chayr, that's before Birchas HaTorah. Says the Ramah, no, the minig is to say Birchas HaTorah before you say those psukim. So the Mishnah Berurah says over there in Siman Mem Vav, Sivkat and Chav Zayin, that it looks like according to the Hachra of the Ramah, then, that a person should not say psukim of slichas, person should not say psukim of matoivu, and these psukim that you say in the morning before Birchas HaTorah. In which case, Reishis Chachma, which is again printed in the Siddurim, to say it before Birchas HaTorah, l'chayra, according to the Hachra of that Mishnah Berurah, one should not say it before Birchas HaTorah. The minig definitely seems to be lahakel, like this Ramah, that people say Reishis Chachma before Birchas HaTorah. However, everyone should at least realize that it's a shaila and should ask a competent Rav to find out if they should be saying Reishis Chachma, of course after Nagelwasser, but before Birchas HaTorah. Al Kapanim, that is just the interesting raid about saying Reishis Chachma. And again, if you look in the Siddur Agra and the Siddur of Yaakov Emden and the oldest Siddurim, it doesn't even appear Bichlal to say Reishis Chachma in the morning. But as Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, Zem minhagim ba'alma, it is a minig Yisrael, but Al Kapanim, it could be someone should wait till after they say Birchas HaTorah to then go ahead and say those psukim. So we will continue on without Reishis Chachma, but just bringing out that point in the Gayat Reishis Chachma, that the next part is really the first bracha that we say every day, and that is the bracha of Al Netilas Yodayim. And because it's the first bracha we say every day, I want to go bichlal tonight into the inyan of Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, which is the introduction, hopefully 100 times a day, or at least many times a day, that a person says that nusach to start a bracha with this nusach, and then the end of the bracha is Al Netilas Yodayim. So in way of Hakdama, it's kedai to mention the tour in Orach Chaim Siman Hey, and the Shulchan Aruch over there in Sif Aleph says, V'yechavin b'berchoisav pirush hamilois shamoitzi b'fiv. When a person makes a bracha, the Shulchan Aruch is paskening that you should be mechavin to what you're saying. The Mishnah Berurah says that the makar is a Gemara in Brachas, Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, that says that a person should not be zayrik bracha mipiv. A lot of times, the way we describe a bracha that we'd say and that we hear is exactly like that. It's thrown out of our mouth, just racing through a bracha. But you have to be careful when you say a bracha to say the words correctly and to know what you're talking about. In the Sefer Yeshaid V'Sherish HaAvoida, He says that it's bar l'chol bar seichel shebracha kazu keilu loy birach klal. If a person makes a bracha, just he's talking about without kavana, it's as if you don't make a bracha b'chlal v'anshay gadol, and he has a great punishment. It's mashma that it's not just a punishment because of lack of saying the bracha correctly, but it's an act of bizayin. You're saying a bracha in a way that's a bizayin because zayrik bracha mipiv. So that's something as an introduction to all the brachas that we say during the day. You have to be sure you say it properly without swallowing the words, and to say it with kavana. Baruch atah Hashem, you Hashem are blessed. So what's the pshat? The word Baruch, we know the Rishonim say, means a lashon of toisefes, a lashon of an abundance, adding, it's a Rashi in Soita Daf Yud Amud Aleph, Kol bracha shebemikra lashon ribuyu, it's something that's misrabah, something that's abundant. The Ramban in Parshas Mishpatim, Perach Gimel, Pasuk Chav Hey, says this as well in the Pasuk of Uveirach es lachmacha. It doesn't mean that your bread will be blessed, it means that the bracha is toisefes behen, that you'll have a lot. And the Rashba in his Chidusha Agadas in Brachas Daf Zayin Amud Aleph says this as well. So Rashi, the Ramban, the Rashba, it appears in other Rishonim as well, that the idea of bracha is a lashon of Tosefes. The Radak and the Ibn Ezra in the Birchas Yaakov, when it says Orur Apam in Parshas Vayechi, they say that Orur is a lashon chisaron, just like bracha is a lashon of Tosefes. So again, they're going with this idea. And the question is, when you give a bracha to somebody, so you're saying there should be something nisrabe. You're wishing him an abundance of parnasa, an abundance of hatzlacha. But when you're saying Baruch Atah Hashem, what could you possibly be wishing Hashem? Hashem is the epitome of shleimus. He's not lacking anything, or else he wouldn't be Hashem. So what does it mean that we say Baruch Atah Hashem, that you Hashem should be blessed? So the Rishonim explain the Sefer HaChinuch and Mitzvah Tov Lamed, which is the mitzvah of Birchas Hamazon, and the Tshuvas HaRashba, Chelik Aleph, Siman Tov Chav Gimel 423. The Rashba says, just like the Sefer HaChinuch, that when you say Baruch Atah Hashem, it is a proclamation. It's not a wish, a desire. It's not a bakasha. It's Baruch Atah Hashem. We are making an announcement that Hashem, you are the source of all blessing. You are the source of all bracha. And Memela, the Sefer HaChinuch and the Rashba speak out that when you say Yisbarach, Hashem should be blessed, you're not saying that Hashem should be anything. You're saying people should be makir that Hashem is the source of all bracha. That's what it means when we say Yisbarach. But the lashon of Baruch Atah Hashem, then we have to have in mind every day when we say it, you Hashem are Baruch. What does that mean? You are Baruch. You are the source of all bracha that we want in our lives. It all comes from you. Baruch Atah is you Hashem, and again when we say the Shem Hashem, the Torah over there in Siman Hey and the Shulchan Aruch tell us what kavanah you have to have by the Shem Hashem. Admittedly, this is hard every time you say the Shem Hashem, not just Baruch Atah Hashem, but many times throughout the davening and psukim you say the Shem Hashem. You're supposed to have these kavanahs, but a person just has to get into a hergel. It's a 1 second blitz kavanah that you have in mind. And what is that kavanah? So the kavanah is, the way the Torah and the Shulchan Aruch say it, is that a person should have in mind kikriyasai, the way you read it, which is the Aleph Daled Nun Yud, which is the shame of Adnus, that Hashem is the master, the one who's in charge, and also the way it's written, which is Yud Kei Vav Kei, which represents Haya Hayve V'Yiyah, that Hashem is Lamala Min Azman. He was, He will be, and He is presently. So to have both those things in mind is that Hashem is the master, and He always was, and He always will be. That never changes. The Magen Avrohom says over there in Siman Hey, that's only if it's written with Yud Kei Vav Kei. But if it's written with the shame of Aleph Daled, then all you have to have in mind is the Ksiva and the Kriya, which is the idea of Adnus, which again is much easier. Every time you say Hashem's name, so just pause for a second and think Adnus, that Hashem is the master. In the Biur Hagra, the Vilna Gaon says that you always only have to have in mind the Kriya, which is Adnus, which again makes life a lot easier in terms of this Kavanah. He says there's just, the exception is when a person is saying the first pasuk in Kriya Shema. You say Hashem's name twice, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. So the 2 times over there, Hashem, there one should say it a little slower and should have in mind also the aspect of Haya, Hayve, V'Yiyah. But in the rest of the Shemos throughout the day, the Vilna Gaon paskins that a person does not have to have in mind the Haya, Hayve, V'Yiyah, just the shame of Atlas. Now again, whatever shita you go with, even if you're making like the Vilna Gaon, but it's hard to have that in mind every single time. So there is a little bit, I don't want to say a trick, but there is a little bit of an eitzah that the Paiskim bring out. The Eishel Avram, the Bachacher, he says over there in Simon Hay, he says the Eishel Avram, actually it's in a Siddur brought down in a Siddur called Tefillah LeDavid, where the Eishel Avram says, and the Paiskim bring this, that a person can actually make an announcement in the beginning of the day and be Moiser Moidah and say like this: Hareini Mechavin, I am now having Kavana, Me'ata ad lemocher be'es hazois. The entire day, until tomorrow at this time when I'm going to say it again. Shekisha asker Shem Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Whenever I say that Shem, Shehu Adain Hakol, Hashem is the master. V'Shem Havaya, Shehu Adain Kol, Haya Hayva V'yiyah. So you could say originally in the beginning of the day that this Mesiras Maidah at the end of the Sefer Afike Yam, one of the Achronim, the Afike Yam, there's something called Penina Yam, where different Yesodis that Afike Yam said in Ois Gimel, he says Inyan Gadol Hula Asnais. This tonight is an Inyan Gadol. Kisha Azker B'chol Hayoyim Shem Adnus Kavanosi Shehu Adain Hakol. Person should it's an Inyan Gadol to do this. Then it's as if you did it a whole day. And in the Sefer Halicha Shloimei on Tefillah, which brings down a lot of things from Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, he says, since in today's generation it's hard to have the proper kavana every single time you say the word, so you could be saimech on the Eishal Avram and do this. Again, how exactly does that work? You're not having kavana by mincha at 1:30 when you daven mincha that the Shem Hashem is the way you're supposed to have the kavana, but because at 7 o'clock in the morning you made this Mesiras Maidah, it's as if you had kavana. A question exactly how it works, but Lamaisa the Eishal Avram says it does work. You could make that announcement and it'll be chal for the remainder of the day. So definitely, as we try to work on ourselves to say the Shem Hashem, not to be Zayrik Bracha Mipiv, to say the Shem Hashem with the right Kavana, this is a good way to have a little training wheels, to use this Eishal Avram, to use this Heter, the Reb Shlomo Zalman says, this Kula, to say it in the beginning of the morning. You could basically say your own Nusach, but if you want to get the Nusach, I could give it to you after. But the exact Nusach of the Eishal Avram, the idea is that then it makes it that throughout the day, when we say the Shem Hashem, it is Chal, that what we have in mind is the Shem of Adoin Kol. Now, the word Elokeinu means our Hashem, but what exactly should one have in mind by Elokeinu? So the Torah and Shulchan Aruch say, Takif Bal Yecholes Ubal HaKoiches Kulam, which means really three aspects. Takif is that Hashem is the strongest. Bal Yecholes means that the strength could be displayed. That Hashem is not held back from displaying. You could have a very strong person, but if he's tied up or if he's locked up in jail, his strength is not going to help him too much. But Hashem, nothing can hold back Hashem from using that strength. That's the Takif and Bal Yecholes. Bal HaKoiches Kulam. What's the Bal HaKoiches Kulam? That anything in this world that displays strength, Hashem is the source of all that strength. The powerful warmth and heat of the sun, any other power, any koiches, the wind, Hashem is the Bal HaKoiches Kulam, and surely all human beings. Hashem is the Baal HaKoiches, the Nefesh HaChaim in Shar Aleph Perek Beis, and again in Shar Gimel Perek Yud. He says included in Baal HaKoiches Kulam is that Hashem is Mechaya, everything that has life, everything that has energy, that has koyach in this world. Hashem is the constant chiyus of all of those things, so that's also included in Baal HaKoiches Kulam. But again, the only practical way to go through this, that to have kavana properly by the Shem Hashem and Shem of Elokeinu, is to prepare beforehand a quick kavana, that before you say the Shem Hashem, it's Adoin Kol, and by Shema Yisrael, you leave yourself a little more time. You have Hoya Hoive V'yiyah, and Elokeinu, you just have that picture in your mind of strength, of that he's Takif, the epitome of strength, the Baal Yecholes, he could use that strength, and Baal HaKoiches Kulam, anything else that there is that has strength in this universe, that is all from the Rebbeinu Shalom. Melech HaOlam, the king of the world. So that does not just mean the king of Olam Hazeh. There are 4 worlds that the Mekubalim talk about. It's called the worlds of Aviyah, Aleph, Beis, Yud, Ayin, the world of Atzilus, the world of Bria, the world of Yetzira, and the world of Asiya. We are here in the world of Asiya, but there are different Olamos that come down from the Kisei HaKavod in that order, the Atzilus, then Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. And when we say Melech HaOlam, we mean that Hashem is the king of all the Olamos, any other worlds and spheres that there exist in the Bria, that's all included in Melech HaOlam. Now, a very fascinating nusach that we say by all Birchas HaMitzvahs. Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvaysav. Hashem was mekadesh us with his mitzvahs. So what exactly is the taich of Kiddishanu? The Avodrom, the Talmud of the Torah, says right over here in the beginning of the Siddur that there's 2 pshatim. He says either it means he's makadesh us, he makes us holy, he sanctified Klal Yisrael by giving us the mitzvahs, or he says it's a lashon of marriage, a lashon of kiddushin, erisin. Hashem was makadesh us. When you're makadesh a woman, so what do you have to give? Kesef or shava kesef. You give her a ring. So what did Hashem give us? Hashem gave us the mitzvahs. The mitzvah, says the Avrohom, is the kesef kiddushin, that bond of Klal Yisrael to Kadosh Baruch Hu. The pasuk in Hosea, Perek Beis, pasuk Chaf Aleph says, "Ve'erastich li." I made you an erisin, that's a kiddushin, that's marriage. With what? Be'emuna. So what does be'emuna mean? Zakta Avrohom. The pasuk in Tehillim says, Kol mitzvahs of emuna. Tehillim kuf yotes, pasuk pei vav. All the mitzvahs of Hashem are called emuna. That's a parsha in its own, why all the mitzvahs are called emuna. But kol mitzvahsecha emuna. So when it says ve'irastich li be'emuna, it means I did an erisin to Klal Yisrael with emuna, with the mitzvahs. So these two things you have in mind, asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvahsav, that he made us holy, and he married us, so to speak, that he was makadesh us, and created that strong bond through his mitzvahs. Just like in any relationship, there are shibudim, there are responsibilities. So we have responsibilities, that's the mitzvahs that we have to the Rebbeinu Shalom. And of course, both aspects, making us holy and being makadesh us like Kiddushin, are related. We know the Gemara in Kiddushin, we learned it in Yeshiva Dezman, Kiddushin Daf Beis and Beis, that the reason why marriage is called Kiddushin is because it's Aser La'akuli Alma Kehegdish. You designate this woman for you and Aser her and everyone else, just like Hekdish is Aser to the world. So the idea of Hekdish and the idea of Kiddushin are related, but it's two different pshatim in the Nusach. Asher Kiddishanu is either that you made us holy, or Asher Kiddishanu that you married us, and the Kesef Kiddushin that you gave us was the mitzvahs. Now, in the nusach of every bracha of Birchas HaMitzvahs, it's interesting. It seems like it's a stira in the nusach. On one hand, we talk noichach, Baruch Atah, we're talking to Hashem. Baruch Atah, you Hashem. And then we say, Asher Kiddishanu, that he was makadesh us. We don't say Shekidashtanu, you were makadesh us. Shekidashanu as if we're talking about Hashem. It's called in the Svarim Noichach and Nistar. Noichach means straight, as if you're talking second person, right to the person, and then Nistar, talking third person, that as if it's hidden. So the Avrohom says in the name of the Rivah, that's because Hashem is Nigla v'Nistar. There's two aspects. On one hand, Hashem is Nigla mitzad Maisav. We all see the Yad Hashem, we all see the Maisav Hashem, but Hashem is Nistar mitzad Elokusai. His godliness, of course, we can't have a picture of it. So that's why in every Birchas HaMitzvahs we say a lashon of noichach and a lashon of nister to represent this aspect that Hashem, our Hashem, Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, is on one hand nigla. We see so much the Yad Hashem and the Atav of Hashem, but on the other hand it's also nistar. The Nefesh HaChaim in Shar Beis, Perek Beis, brings this from a Zohar HaKadosh. The Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Emor says Kudsha Brichu Sasim Vegalia. Sasim is hidden, Galia is revealed. So what's the Zohar trying to tell us? So he says, the Nefesh HaChaim says that that's the idea that Hashem is sasu mitzad atzmai, whatever atzmi of Hashem is, but he's nigla mitzad maisav with his interaction. And the Rebbe of Reb Chaim Volozhin, the Vilna Gaon, already says this in the Aderes Eliyahu, one of the Svarim of the Gaon on Chumash, in Parshas Dvarim in the very beginning, Perek Aleph Pasuk Vav, he says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is nistar v'nigla, nistar mitzad atzmusai v'nigla mitzad masav, the same nusach that we had before. And the Vilna Gaon ends off, Lochein anu oimrim b'chol bracha lashon noichach v'nister. Mamash mechaven to the Avrohom in the name of the Rivah, that's why in every bracha we say Ata, we talk noichach, and then we say Asher Kiddishanu, which is nister, to bring out this aspect. Vitzivanu, after you say b'mitzvaysav, you pause a moment because you have a vav there, and then the next word starts with the vav. Give revach bein adveikim. Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvaysav, vitzivanu, and he commanded us. And then whatever the oisfir of the bracha is, over here, al Netilas Yodayim. Now where did he command this to us? So in the mitzvah d'oraisa, Hashem commanded it to us in the Torah. But in the mitzvah d'Rabbanan, Hashem didn't command us to do it. The Rabbanan commanded us to do it. When you say al Netilas Yodayim, Hashem didn't tell a person to do Netilas Yodayim. The Chachamim instituted Netilas Yodayim. And the same thing by Mikra Megillah and Ner Chanukah. So what does that mean when we say there Vitzivanu? So the Rambam in Hilchas Brachas answers the kasha. The Rambam in Hilchas Brachas, Perek Yud Aleph Halacha Gimel, says Vehechon Vitzivanu B'Torah. Where is Vitzivanu by a mitzvah d'Rabbanan? Because the pasuk says in Parshas Shoftim, Perek Yud Zayin, pasuk Yud Aleph, Asher Yoimru L'cha Ta'aseh. Whatever the Chachamim tell you to do, you have to listen to. So Zok the Rambam, now you have to know the taich in the bracha. Whenever you say Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvaysav Vitzivanu al Netilas Lulav, so that's d'oraisa. That means Hashem commanded it to us, that mitzvah. But when you say al Netilas Yodayim, what you're really saying is Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvaysav Shetziva behen. This is the lashon of the Rambam. Shetziva behen lishmaya V'hoya me'elu shetzivanu lahadlik ner shel Chanukah or likros hamegillah v'chein shar kol hamitzvos midivrei seifrim. In other words, you commanded us not to do Netilas Yodayim. You commanded us to listen to the Chachamim who told us to do Netilas Yodayim. So it's kedai to have that in mind, to know the taich of the words. Vitzivanu by a mitzvah daraisa means you commanded us to do this, and Vitzivanu by a drabanan is Vitzivanu with the pasuk of Asher Yomru L'cha Ta'aseh, that you commanded us to, Hashem commanded us to listen to the Chachamim who instituted this takana drabanan. And we'll just end off al Netilas Yodayim. What do those words mean? So we know the mitzvah of Netilas Yodayim is washing hands, but Netila literally means to take. So the Rosh in Brachas Perek Tes Siman Chav Gimel says that we should say Hashem commanded us on Nekiyos Yadayim, cleanliness of the hand. Why do we say on Netilas Yadayim? So he says because the kli that you're supposed to take to wash your hands, Netilas Yadayim, that cup in the times of Chazal was called a natla, Nun Tes Lamed Aleph. It's a Gemara in Chulin Daf Kuf Zayin Amid Beis. So once that's the name of the kli, so we say the bracha with that nusach. But the Taisis Yantif in his Pirish on the Rosh in Brachas, it's called Madane Yantif underneath the Rosh in Ois Reish, and the Taisis Yantif in his Pirish Taisis Yantif and Mishnayis in Brachas also Paraches Mishnah Beis says that that's betzir of the fact that netila means taking. So it means you take the water, not you take your yadayim, but netilas yadayim means you take something for your yadayim, you take the water, but since the kli is called a natlo, that's what the Rosh means, that we use the word netilas yadayim instead of nekiyos yadayim or achitzas yadayim, but it's not only because it means the name of the kli was a natlo, but because it fits into the context as well, because you're taking your hands. But the Avrohom says, or at least he brings a shita, that the lashon of netila is not referring to washing, it's not referring to taking your hands, it's a lashon of raising up, lifting up. When we say in Uval Atzian Vatisa Eini Ruach, so what's the targum of that? Unatalasni Rucha. Unatalasni means a wind lifted me up. So what does it mean, lifted me up? So the Avrohom says that this is based on the Gemara in Soita Daf Daled Amid Beis that says that when a person washes Netilas Yadayim, tzarich sheyagbia yadav lamala. Literally, your hands have to be lifted up. So on Netilas Yadayim means the mitzvah of raising up your hands and washing them while they're yagbia yadav lamala. However, the Ksava Kabbalah in his Siddur called Iyun Tefillah, he says, Ksava Kabbalah is a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva Eiger, he says when we talk about Netilas Yadayim, raising the hands, it means because the Rechitza is Meray Memes Es HaYadayim L'Madrega Gavay Yaiser. It doesn't mean physically lifting it up. It means that spiritually now they're lifted up, Kedusha V'Tahara, that when you wash your hands, now you're ready to eat a Suda, now you're ready to do a mitzvah. So the Netilas Yadayim that we're talking about, the lifting up of the hand is lifting up in Ruchnius, and it could be that the Indian to raise your hands, like the Gemara in Saita says, is symbolic of the lifting b'derech ruchnius that you're doing. But again, it's two different pshatim here in Al Netilas Yadayim. The raising of the hands either means that you commanded us to lift up the hands while we wash it, or it means to raise up the hands in ruchnius, and this is all going with the pshat of the Avrohom, that netila means to raise, but again, the first pshat is that's referring to the washing, the taking your hands, to the taking the water for your washing the hands with this kli that was called in the times of Chazal a natla. And we'll just end with this point that the Gemara in Shabbos Taf Samach Beis Amid Beis says that if a person is mezalzel in netilas yadayim, that's something that brings a person lidei anius. A person has to be careful not just with the bracha of Al Netilas Yadayim, but when you wash your hands, it shouldn't be like Hilchas Tisha B'Av, that you wash your hands only a little bit. A person has to be sure to do Netilas Yadayim correctly. If not, Chas v'Shalom, it could bring him to poverty. And the Avrohom right over here says that the way you have a simon to remember that is because the words Al Netilas Yadayim is Rashi Tevos Ani. Ayin Nun Yud is poor. So as you're saying Al Netilas Yadayim, think about Anius. The Avrohom was not just the Talmud of the Torah; he was the Talmud of the Balaturim. So the Balaturim's Ramazim had a hashpah here on the Avrohom, that the Avrohom says that Al Netilas Yadayim is the remes for Ani, not because if you do Al Netilas Yadayim you become an Ani. Faket, it just reminds you that it saves you from Anius. If a person is mezalzel on Netilas Yadayim, then he'll get that Anius. So we have to be careful not to be Zayrik Bracha Mipiv. You have to be careful to do the mitzvah correctly, and hopefully with that will come the Ashirus and all the brachas from the Rabbeinu Shalom, who is the Makar of all brachas.